Hello and welcome to the Lighthouse. My name is Mari Kurtanu, and today I'm really excited to have Rawshanara with me, Rawshanara Hussain, who has an incredible story, and I can't wait to hear it because I know bits and pieces, but I don't know the whole story. So welcome, Rawshanara. I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you. And I'm so excited to be here. And thank you for giving me space to share my story.
Oh, thank you. And today you are actually going to be the light at the lighthouse. And the intention is to share this light to other people who may resonate with your story. So before we start, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and then feel free to jump straight into it.
Thanks, Mari. Hi, everyone. I'm Rawshanara. So today I'm going to be sharing my story about my journey with alopecia. So for those of you who don't know, alopecia is a autoimmune illness and it causes hair loss. So this is a journey that I've been going through since 2014, and I'll share the details of exactly how that journey started and evolved. Right now, I am taking some time out, doing lots of like healing work. I left my corporate job, gosh, about 9 months ago. And it was really alopecia that got me to leave that job because it gave me like a sense of purpose that there's something else that I should be doing. So
That's beautiful. So in so many words, alopecia changed your life.
100%, yes. I hated it at the beginning, absolutely hated it, but it was the best gift that life, God, the universe could have given me.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting how so many people, after you go through a life crisis, people begin to realize that there is more to life. It tends to give you a sense of a deeper meaning. It shifts your perspective about life, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Like I felt like before alopecia, I felt like I had no purpose. I know that sounds crazy, but I just felt like, like if you watch the news sometimes and they show you the commuters and it's just everyone just, thousands of people just moving. And I
Yes.
just felt like I was just somebody else just living the same life with no meaning, no purpose. So yes, I'm really grateful for my journey.
So what was happening at that time in your life?
Well, it happened in the summer of 2014. It was actually in June. It was around my birthday, and me and my best friend at the time, we were both in LA, and we were on this beach, and she noticed that I had a bald patch. I think I had my hair tied up, and she said, "Hey, like you've got a bald patch."
Mhm.
I wasn't actually worried at all because I'd actually had a history of another autoimmune illness, which is thyroid related. And I'd gone through the process of having an overactive thyroid to an underactive thyroid. And that started 9 years prior to this bald patch. So when I saw the bald patch, I just thought, oh, like my thyroid levels must just be, out of whack, because that was usually the sign that when the thyroid's playing up, I get a bald patch. So we just carried on enjoying the vacation. And, I just thought when I come home, I'll get a blood test done and the doctor will readjust my thyroid levels. So that's what I did. Came back to the UK, went to see the doctor, had the blood test done, and the doctor said, your thyroid levels are normal. You have alopecia areata. I didn't know much about alopecia, but I knew a little about it because one of my mum's cousins had it years back.
Mm.
And I remember he went completely bald. And at the time, they said it was stress related. So I just thought, okay, it must be stress related. And I didn't actually feel very stressed, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
At the time, I was in a very demanding job. And this is the career that I've recently left. I used to design workforce solutions for, probably all the brands that you've ever heard of, the Apples, the Googles, the Coca-Colas, and so on. And yes, it was demanding, but I actually used to enjoy my job. So anyway, didn't, I wasn't overly concerned by it because I was still in my traditional thinking, which a lot of people are, that it's fine. The doctor will just give me a pill or a cream and they'll fix me.
So you didn't pay attention to it at the time.
I didn't pay attention. I didn't even really sit down and question, why is this happening to me? How did this happen? I was just like, oh, okay. I must be stressed. The doctor will give me something to fix it. I took no responsibility.
Yeah. Well, you had no clue. You didn't know. And something you mentioned about the stress, that you were so stressed, even though you enjoyed your job, you didn't feel like you were, but obviously your body was telling you that you were. And this is so common because when you, and I talk from my own experience in corporate, in the corporate world, when you are in that level of just autopilot, just going on and on and on, you don't know that you're stressed. I only realized that when I changed my career 6 months after, I was asking myself, how in the world did I manage to be in that level of stress? Because it was only when I got out of it that I realized where I was before. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And what happened then? What happened after?
So I took the cream that the doctors gave and I applied it, but I wasn't seeing any immediate results. And the patch was starting to get like a little bit bigger. And although looking back now, I probably could have been one of those people that would just live with that for the rest of my life, the way it was back then. But at the time, it just felt like the end of the world. And especially because we live in the UK, and yes, we're blessed right now with the summer, but it's typically very windy. And I used to get so paranoid walking down the street, God forbid, if anyone noticed that I had this patch in my hair. So anyway, I decided that, this is my health. Maybe I should actually go and see a hair specialist and just pay for it because, as you know, in the UK, we actually get free medical care, but that's restricted. That doesn't include everything. So there was this company that I always used to see on my commute on the way to work, advertising. It was the Belgravia Hair Centre, always advertising on the tubes, hair loss. And like thinking back now, I'm just wondering, did I almost like subconsciously manifest like hair loss, like watching that advert every single day on the way to work? But anyhow, I went there and it was really interesting because I was now paying for a medical service.
Yeah.
And, alopecia for me, even though it was a small patch at the time, it felt like it was the end of the world. And I didn't feel like they really cared, they weren't very sensitive to, this is the end of my world right now. To them, like I just felt like I was just another transaction. I was just another hair loss person. Um, anyway, they gave me this cream called minoxidil, which, some people have had success in growing their hair by applying this cream. I didn't look into what was in this cream. I was just like, it has great reviews. Yes, I will take it. I will buy it. They also gave me some hair massage treatments that I had to come in just to, regulate the scalp and, help the hair grow. So I started applying this cream. I didn't see immediate results, but I did start to see some. And talking about, did I think about why is this happening to me? Although I wasn't thinking that, there was something in my gut telling me, maybe you should just take some time out from work. Maybe you should just resign from your job. And at this point, I'd worked for 14 years non-stop. And I thought, this is your health. Just resign, just take some time out. So I did. I went to my leadership team and I told them about my intention to resign, because also I was working with this project manager at work who I found really stressful. Like, wasn't a horrible guy or anything like that. It's just, those people that they forgot all the talk, but they actually don't know how to do their job, and it's just constantly latching onto me. And I'm just like, dude, I'm trying to do my job. I can't be helping you doing yours as well. So I found, that quite stressful. So I just thought, yeah, I need to get away from him and let me just resign. But they didn't want to lose me. So they persuaded me to stay, and they said, just take 2 weeks out, paid leave. This is not your vacation. Just take 2 weeks on us. and, you know, go and relax, reset, and come back and, you know, let us know how you think. I was like, okay, that, you know, that sounds like a good compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike doing the normal, you know, the best thing for my health at that time, to actually take that time out and sit in solitude at home and just try and reflect what's happened to me. No, I decide I'm going to book a last minute holiday to Morocco with my friend. So again, I'm it didn't feel like I was running away from my problem. But I've realized this trend this year, especially where I've had time out from work, that I've spent a lot of my life not actually addressing problems. Instead, I've just shoved it under the carpet in a way and just, yeah, I'm just superwoman. I'm just going to solve this. I don't need to actually take time out to reflect and audit. Um,
It was a kind of an avoidance.
yeah.
But there was that inner voice that was telling you, you need to take some time off. Come on, take some time off. It's your health.
Yeah, the inner voice was telling me, take time out. And I partially listened. You know, I took the time that the company gave me, but I went and booked this trip, and it wasn't a solo trip, it was a trip with my friend. And then to make it worse, literally, I think it was a day or 2 days before the holiday, I was involved in a car accident.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wow, isn't that a message?
Right?
The ultimate message, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
But I didn't see it back then.
What
I can
happened? Yeah, I can imagine. What happened in there? What kind of an accident?
I was stationary, waiting for the lights to change. There was this boy racer coming behind, didn't see that we're waiting in traffic, going full speed, and just hit me from behind, completely wrote off my car. I was okay. I had whiplash, but I felt like my hair loss got worse after that. I still went on the holiday. But you're right, it was probably another sign from the universe saying, girl, slow down. You need to relax.
Mm.
Um, so I went on the holiday and I'm continuing to use the minoxidil, and I'm starting to see results now. My hair's growing back. So this was around, the car accident happened in August 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And by December 2014, all my patches had actually healed. And I was actually in a really good place because I'd also just secured a new job in the same industry, but different company. I was going to start that in January 2015. It was a remote working job. So I thought that would be better. It will give me, you know, more time to take care of
Yes.
myself.
Yes.
And you know, I just bought this brand new sports car after writing off the old car, and I was going to Cancun for Christmas and New Year, see David Guetta. Life was great. I just thought, wow, like everything's worked out.
Amazing.
Right. But
The looks
yeah,
of it.
it didn't stop there. Went off to Cancun, and I remember a few days before the trip was ending, my head was itching like crazy. I was on the beach and I just thought, is it the heat? But I'm accustomed to like beach holidays. This never happens to me.
Were you still using the cream at the time
Yeah,
when you were feeling the
yeah,
itching?
yeah. And it was so bad. I actually thought that I had head lice. It was just uncontrollable. But I just thought, you know what, just get it out of your mind. It'll be fine. Then I come home, and the same friend that I was in LA with 6 months ago, she notices that I've got a patch again, a new patch, and now on the other side. And she said, oh, your glands have all swollen up. And I didn't even notice any of this, like literally all behind my ears, my glands had swollen up. So I go to the doctor again, and they said this time I have a fungal infection, and the likelihood is that the minoxidil has caused this.
Mm.
So yeah, they said I had
The
to come
side
off it.
effects of the cream.
Yeah, never read the side effects.
So,
Yeah,
it's natural because you just wanted a solution, you couldn't see because it made you feel uncomfortable. You just wanted something to fix it, right? So you don't care about the consequences, really. you couldn't probably even didn't even think that there could be some. And I'm sure many people would relate in your place. So
yeah, no, 100%. So now I couldn't use that anymore. They gave me some antibiotics, but now my hair's falling out again. But this time it's more rapid than what happened 6 months ago. But I haven't got my minoxidil to save me. So what do I do? So I'm looking at, okay, alternative therapies. What else can I do? I found a trichologist, which was known to be one of the top ones in London. So I thought, okay, they'll be able to help me. I went there and they were actually really, really nice. I did feel like I got a bit more of an explanation on what was going on. And they did also confirm that the minoxidil likely had a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So then they gave me some different products, like a scalp tonic, and they gave me some UV light treatment and also some protein masks for my hair. And then they equipped me with these safe hair products, shampoos and conditioners that were going to be better for my health. But really they weren't. They had like things like sulfate and everything in there, and I was paying £50 a bottle for like this shampoo. It was just ridiculous. But I was desperate. I did it.
Of course.
But no change. My hair's just falling out rapidly now. So the first patch from Cancun started in January, and by March of 2015 I'd lost pretty much all of the back of my hair. My hair was quite long, so you couldn't see it because the top layer was covering it.
Yeah.
But it was rapid, and even though it was rapid, I wasn't thinking that I'm going to go bald. I thought I'm going to find a solution because this is me. I always find a solution. So I'm just still frantically now going to visit a top dermatologist again, just nothing. I'm just escaping to anyone and everyone to fix me, and nobody could. And in the meantime, my hair's just falling out. And then, like, I remember I had this trip in May of 2014 to Miami and Bahamas, and it was booked before the alopecia came back. And I was now dreading this trip because I'd lost a lot of my hair. And if you know what Miami culture's like, I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like, I can't go there like this. So it was the first time when I thought, you know what, maybe it's time you have to think about getting a wig, just to help. So I did. I got a wig, and I just tried to find something that was as natural looking as possible, because God forbid if anyone knew. That was my mission.
Of the thought, of course.
Yeah. Other than the people that I chose to tell, I didn't want anyone to know.
Yes.
So went off to Miami, and now I'm in these Miami and Bahamas, both very beachy places, and I love the beach. And I just hated it. I was wearing this wig. It was so uncomfortable. I just wanted to go and swim in the sea, and I couldn't do any of it. And then the girls that I went with, it wasn't their fault. They wanted to have a good time. They wanted to party in Miami, and I just felt shit, excuse my language. That's how I felt. I did not feel good. Yeah, I did not want to go outside. And even though I still looked great in my wig, you wouldn't even be able to tell. I could tell, and I didn't feel good.
Yes.
And that trip, I think the anxiety and the stress, it just accelerated the hair loss to the point when I came back in June, I was pretty much bald.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's because I created unnecessary stress, along the way.
Yeah. So it just kept going until one day you were bald.
Yeah.
And how did that landed with you when you actually realized? When it sounds to me like there was a part of you, the fighter in you, that wanted to fight and find a solution, but then things were unfolding, and eventually you got where you didn't want to go. So basically, whatever you avoided, we actually found you in the end. And what happened when you actually what was the moment that you actually accepted what was happening, or you made Did you ever make any peace with it when it was happening? Like when you were, let's say, when you found yourself bald and you were like, okay, all my hair is gone now, what?
To be honest, I don't think I ever did make peace or accept it. I was literally hanging on, and no kidding, I literally had some like strands at the back of my head. I was, I
I
was
love
hanging
it.
on to the last few strands till, yeah, and maybe that's the acceptance bit when I just thought, you know what, you might as well, just said to my friend, you might as well just shave it.
Mm,
Um, how did I feel? In all honesty, I felt like my life was over. I felt like I'd just been served a prison sentence.
mm,
It was all the negative thinking that one could possibly think. I was just, well, who's going to ever want to marry me? Like, I've got a bald head. I'm never going to have children because I'm never going to get married. It was
mhm.
just all the negative self-talk. And I also felt really helpless. Um, I was quite fortunate in my journey that I was in, at the time I was in a good paid job. So I could afford the nice wigs and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I had the nice wig, but I couldn't
Yeah,
afford to just suddenly magically bring my hair back. And
yeah.
I've
So,
never felt so helpless, I think,
yeah,
and
deep down, you were
yeah,
struggling with everything that was happening, obviously, with the negative thoughts and the spiral. And even though there was a solution for it, you felt like it was restricting you from your happiness, from your joy, from having the future that you wanted,
yeah,
right? And what
yeah.
happened afterwards? How, what? So this was your, let's say, your lowest moment. Would it be fair
No,
to
that
say?
wasn't the lowest.
Oh.
So June 2015 was when I actually lost so at that point it went from, so when you have the patch, going back to alopecia, and there's so many different types of alopecia.
Mhm,
But when I had the patches, that was alopecia areata. Now I've lost all the hair on my head, that's alopecia totalis. And
mhm.
I'm completely bald. So this was June 2015. And then 3 months later, I then lost every single hair on my body. I lost my brows, my lashes, like everything.
Yeah.
So, now like I'm just like, seriously, God, like if this isn't hard enough, like losing the hair on my head, you're giving me more? Like, this is not fair. Like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it got from September to December, I was like a recluse at this stage. I just did not want to go out. I completely lost my confidence. I mean, thank God I had in that sense, there was a silver lining that I'd just started a remote job that year. So I didn't have to go into the office every day. I think that commute would have killed me because I was so paranoid about what people thought. And I think a lot of us are, but I also had that embedded in me from my cultural upbringing. It was all about what people thought.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like it got to a stage in December 2015. It was actually on Christmas Day. And
Mm.
it might sound, just like, really, girl, get a grip. But I was with my family, and my cousin's wife, she just kept on staring at me. Um, like really just kept on staring at me. And I was just like, she knows it. She knows I'm wearing a wig. She knows I'm wearing a wig. And I was dying inside just because she's figured it out. She didn't say anything, but I'm just crumbling. And that day I came home and I couldn't take it anymore. And for a split second, I just didn't want to live anymore.
Mm.
And thank God the fighter in me, the next day was just like, no, you can do this, you can figure this out, there's got to be a way. But yeah, that was
That was
actually
your lowest moment when you had thoughts that you just couldn't deal with it anymore.
yeah.
Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that you had to go through that, but I hope that
Yeah.
some people can relate to this and can get some hope that you can actually move past that moment.
Yeah, yeah, no,
And
totally.
what was that thing that pulled you out? You did say that there was the fighter in you that said, or what was that one thing that kept you hanging on?
I think it was just literally that this is your Rawshanara. Like you go through crap and you figure it out. Like, come on, you've got this. You can do
Mm-hmm.
this. It
Mm-hmm.
was just literally that fighting spirit, that last inch that I had left,
Yes.
that got me through it.
Wow.
So I did start 2016. from in 2015, I was very much victim mindset, just hated everything, hated the world, hated God. I actually felt, I didn't really speak much about it, but I actually felt that my culture, my upbringing had a lot to do with my hair loss. It wasn't, I know we touched on the stress in the job. I think there's lots of different factors because hair loss doesn't happen overnight. Disease happens in the body to the point where your body's saying, I can't cope with this on my own anymore. You need to help me out because I've been holding the weight all these years. And I've let you kind of like just, do X, Y, Z, but you're going to have to like, stick your finger out and help now.
Yeah.
But I had all these limiting beliefs that, oh my God, like, am I being punished? Because I was raised in a Muslim household and I was never your traditional Muslim girl. So I thought maybe I've lost my hair because I never covered my hair. I wasn't that good little Muslim girl.
Mm.
All these limiting beliefs.
Yes, I
God's
understand.
punishing me.
It's all about, you mentioned earlier, because I was worried about what people would see, if people would notice. So there is, you're not the only one. We all have this to an extent or another, but it's that sense of how am I being perceived? What do
Right.
people see? We do care more or less. Some people, ideally would be not to care at all, but we do care about what people see, or how they perceive us, and that can influence the way you feel inside, obviously. And when you're going through your situation where you were struggling to hide it from others,
Yeah.
and you were struggling to accept it yourself, it was heavy enough that you were struggling alone with what was going on, trying to understand why and everything. And then adding that on top, of course, it was a heavy burden. But so here you are in this low moment where you finally find that, that rope that is given, and you start grabbing it and you're like, okay, at least I'm hanging onto the rope now. And then what happened?
So it was, I think it's, there's that saying that when the student's ready, the teacher provides.
Yes.
It was literally that moment when I decided that I'm going to figure this out. Suddenly, I was having all these serendipity moments. For example, I would be on social media and I would see videos or adverts from people that I've never heard of in my entire life. Like, I don't know if there's these functional doctors in the US, like Dr. Josh Axe and Dr. Mark Hyman.
Yes.
I have never followed these guys. I've never heard of them. But suddenly I'm seeing like adverts or videos about their work, and I will, click onto it, and then, that will give me a lead, so for example, Dr. Josh Axe was talking a lot about leaky gut. So then I would go and like, investigate what is leaky gut. And I realized that there was a connection between, autoimmune illnesses and the gut.
Yes.
So there was so many moments like that were happening. Or I'd be in a restaurant and I'd hear someone talk about something. They'd talk about a book that I had to like go and read, and so I just started to like really just focus on consuming that information. I would also see suddenly I'd see all these videos of Oprah and Denzel Washington, these motivational videos. And it was just lifting me up. It was giving me like that even more of a fight now, like, yes, you can do this, like you're going to get through this and you're going to tell your story one day, which I am.
Yes, wonderful that you are.
Yeah. So I went on this healing journey. I did things like I created vision boards. I also had the one thing that did really keep me going from a mindset and manifestation perspective was there's this film from, I think it's like in the 80s. There's a film called E.T. If you remember, like the alien E.T.
Yes.
And there's a scene in that film where E.T. looks like E.T.'s dying, and then Drew Barrymore had this like pot of plants, and the plants are dying. But then as E.T. like starts to come back to life, the plants like suddenly come back to life. So that stuck in my mind because I just kept on telling myself, if you like nourish yourself properly internally, you will like blossom and you will get your hair back. So I used to have that scene in the back of my head all the time. And yes,
Beautiful, and it's powerful because it
yeah,
did work for you. It's interesting how you get the messages when you are in the receptive mode, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just open to receive it. When you're ready, like you said, information comes.
everything comes 100%. So
So
yeah,
it was upward from that moment on.
it was upward in the main. I do remember, so this is in 2016. And to be honest, you know, you touched on the fear of what people thought.
Yes.
I personally think, looking back, I think that delayed my healing journey, because I was so worried about what other people thought. And I think if I'd let go of that sooner, I think I would have healed sooner. But hey, we live and learn.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I would try lots of different things. I was changing my diet. I was having, you know, lots of green juices, lots of fruits. And I really became mindful as well about what I was exposing myself to. So I remember I stopped watching the news in 2016. I think it was around the time of Brexit. And I remember it made me feel really bad. And I just suddenly, the dots connected again. Like, this stuff that I'm watching doesn't ever make me feel good. Why do I watch it?
You became selective with what you consume, not just your diet and your food, but what you consume in terms of information, energies, videos, reading, watching.
Exactly.
So you had a complete shift of diet. And when I say diet, I mean everything that is consumable in terms of food and information.
Exactly. And Mari, I never used to read books. Like, I love reading books now. And it was through this journey of trying to find an answer of like how to heal myself that I got into reading books. But yeah, totally. Just really had to curate what I was feeding myself, both physically and mentally, but even who I'm surrounding myself with. I really, really realized who my friends were during that process. And I also realized that a lot of people were only friends with me because I was this, you know, I'm a Gemini, and, you know, Geminis are known to be these socialites, and I was always socializing. I never gave my body any rest. And I had all these friends because I was always making time for all these friends. But the minute I wasn't, where were they?
I totally understand what you mean. And it's natural because you tend to overgive, but when you overgive, you're taken away from somewhere else. And that was obviously from your time. So how long did it take you to actually see when you realized that your hair was growing back? So take us a little bit. So you started in 2016, your life had begun to change. You decided to make changes, massive shifts in your eating, in everything in your life. And when did you started to see that? Did you take any medication in the meantime? No.
Not from, not, I mean, I still had my thyroid medication that I was taking, but I didn't take anything for alopecia.
Yeah.
Like, I had seen a nutritionist during my alopecia journey, so I was taking health supplements. But even then, I took it for a few months and then I stopped because I just thought, okay, I'm fortunate that I can afford this right now. But Mari, this was costing me like about £300 a month.
I can imagine.
Supplements. And, you know, I just thought, yes, I can afford it right now. But then I just shifted again and I just thought, I want to figure out, what are they giving me? How can I get this from the natural source of food? Because I don't want to be dependent on supplements.
Yes.
So I did eventually let those go. But so the healing started in 2016. By around spring of 2017 was the first time I noticed hair coming back. So it started to come back, but then around, I think it was May, June 2017, what did come back fell out again. And I did feel a bit deflated.
Yes.
What happened in that period, I don't know if that contributed to it, but me and my best friend at the time, we did decide to part ways. And we had like a 20-year friendship, and just going through alopecia, it just weakened our relationship. So I don't know if that contributed to it, because I did feel really sad. You know, it's like a relationship, right?
Of course.
But then that was around, May, June. But then it grew again, and by September 2017, I have pretty much had a full head of hair.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what would you say were, well, obviously you already shared, like it was definitely your eating, your diet. What was the major thing? What do you think played a major role in your healing to that point?
So I think the other thing was dealing with limiting beliefs. So starting to do some of that inner work. So I really started to look at, for the first time, I started to try and figure out, why did this happen to me? And I realized that for a lot of my life, I hadn't been myself, because I grew up in this Bangladeshi Muslim household. And from a very young age, I knew that I didn't fit in. I knew I was thinking different, from even back then. And, I tried to, because of the cultural conditioning, the religious programming, it was hard to be anything different than what my parents expected me to be and the whole community expected me to be, because everyone was living it.
Yes.
And I actually ran away when I was 21. And that was, in the Western society, that's normal for a girl to not live at home. But for me, when I did that I think it was the year 2000, when I did that, that was not the norm for a Bangladeshi Muslim girl to do that, because the life for me was to be live at home until my parents married me off.
Yes.
But I ran away in pursuit of my freedom to live the life that I want, but I still wasn't living the life that I wanted. Now I'm like 100% in this Western culture, which is all about clubbing and partying and drinking, and it still didn't fit. So I'm, on the one hand, I was like sitting on the fence. On the one hand, I'm, being this person in this Western culture that wasn't really me. And then I'm still trying to, like, please my parents. When I went home after running away, I would still, let them see what they wanted to see and hide everything else. Made sure I was dressed modestly. And so I wasn't living my authentic life. And I had to basically find peace, and find the courage to learn to be myself. That, I think, that was more, the diet of course played a huge part, but I think just dealing with not living authentically and dealing with, why do I have these limiting beliefs, and making peace with my relationship with God as well,
Yes.
because I was made to believe that I'm going to go to hell because I wasn't living the Islamic way. So I had to, like, rebuild. I went, in my alopecia journey, I went from hating God to not believing in God to, actually, God does love me. I'm not a bad person. So I think it was just more of that inner work that was probably more beneficial and, to my healing.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Because the way when you shift those inner beliefs, the thoughts, the thinking patterns, the way you perceive, your nervous system shifts as well, and
Right.
it adjusts to everything else. Wow, that's wonderful. And it's so challenging indeed when you live in a, the religion and the cultural, the upbringing. It can be very challenging to shift the trajectory of your life and to try to get out of that and live life the way that you want and the way that you know that you deserve. And how wonderful. Wow, this was, I can imagine how challenging this must have been for you, because it was like, what, for 2 years almost, you struggled from one patch and then it went off and then on and all of that. So it showed like, obviously the journey is not a straight line, right? It's up and down and goes
Yeah.
around until you figure it out.
Yeah. To be honest, I've had, even though I got my hair back in 2017,
Mhm.
every single year since 2017, aside from the year of the pandemic, and touch wood this year, I've actually experienced hair shredding again.
Mm.
Nothing compared to before. But each time, and it actually happened this last year, and that's why I paused working on my business ventures, because
Yes.
I felt like, okay, I'm not going through this ever again. I'm going to figure out this for once and for all. I want my life to change.
Yes.
And I realized that I had to get to know my body even better than what I thought I knew it. The reason why it didn't happen in the year of the pandemic was because I was grounded. I wasn't, anyone who knows me, I'm always out and about. I'm always traveling around the globe. Most people just have like 1 to 2 vacations a year. I'm doing like, like one year, actually, the year before the pandemic, I did 14 vacations in 2019.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
record.
exactly. So I wasn't grounded. and my body type needs me to be grounded. So it's been a journey, and each time I know that it's happening because God, the universe, wants me to really love myself and really learn more about myself, so that not only can I be the best version of myself, but that I can then use that knowledge to teach other people.
If someone in the audience is someone who is experiencing same situations as you were back then, what would you tell them?
With the alopecia?
The alopecia, it can be also related to family upbringing.
I would say 100% always listen to your gut. Your gut is your higher self. Like, to me, it's like it's God basically giving you messages. Like, I had gut feelings from when I was a young age, knowing, exactly what I wanted, but I didn't listen to it. And the thing that's helped me through my alopecia journey from a healing perspective is something called Ayurveda, which is the oldest natural holistic medical system in the world. And I follow that to a T now, because every time I follow it to a T, my health is working totally fine. But one thing that they also say in Ayurveda, that one of the main reasons for disease is when you're not authentically living your life, when you're not listening to yourself. So I would 100% say, listen to your gut, be yourself. Don't worry about what other people think, because what I've learned, especially this year, life, I know we think like we've got this time, like I'm 44 now, and I feel like, holy cow, if I knew what I know now back then, I would have made different choices in terms of, I'm not saying not to enjoy yourself, but there is so much work to do in just figuring out who you are and getting to know who you are, not to mention to then fulfill your purpose, because I truly believe that we all come to earth to fulfill a specific purpose. And, now time is just so precious. So yeah, I would say to people, just definitely listen to your gut, value your time. And for anyone who's going through alopecia or any chronic illness, I would say this is a sign to wake up. Don't see it as, why is this happening to me? Look at it as, what opportunity is this going to give me? Let me figure out why, let me ask, what is it that I need to learn from this? And heal yourself naturally. That's the only long lasting way.
Yeah. How beautiful. Yeah. Well, these are very powerful messages, indeed, to hear from someone who's gone through so much like you did. And wow, what an incredible story. I'm still really processing, like I'm looking at you like now, glowing, shining, smiling here, and telling your story. And I now understand that it was not just a matter of the alopecia alone, but was really a matter of other things that were hidden there, that were screaming and needed to be resolved. Because when you're being raised to make sure that you put on a specific picture, a mask, a persona for everyone else around you, and make sure that you stick with that image so people can see, like you said, what they want you to see, what you're taught to show to the world, but you don't know yourself and you don't take time to really understand yourself and know yourself and accept yourself. It's going to be very hard to navigate this life, isn't it? And I guess this is what this journey taught you from what you're saying, that it helped you redirect yourself inwards so that you can transform all these beliefs, all these things that you had, into love, true love, basically.
Yeah, no, 100%. If I may just add one other thing.
Yes, please do.
One thing that was really common, like all the specialists that I went to see, whether it was the trichologist, the dermatologist, the nutritionist, the psychologist, like everyone that I saw, and even recently this year I had a quantum healing hypnosis session, there was one common theme that they all asked, and it was a timeline of your life. what were the events that happened? And I know you also asked at the beginning of the podcast in terms of what was happening in your life around the time of,
Mhm.
you know, alopecia. And if you look at your life as a timeline and all the events, you will start to understand why you have, you know, the chronic illness that you have, or why certain things are happening in your life, because it's not just one thing, it's a whole accumulation of events in your life, and you just have to actually take the time to look at it and reflect.
Absolutely. And this is so true, because the pieces start to come together. And this is a beautiful way to end this podcast. Well, thank you so much. I hope for everyone else, this talk and Roshana has managed to help you put some pieces together for yourself with her story. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.